This is my first ever StreamYard attempt. So I'm going to see if it populates, and I'm going to see if it's a better experience than just regular YouTube chat. And this way I can relax more while I'm doing a chit chat with you all. Because as you all know, I'm still resting. Hey Priscilla. Hey Gypsy. Hey Denise. This is my first attempt at StreamYard, so it may get a little wonky. It may be maybe a little irritating by the time we end it. Jiffy Corn Muffin. That's the funnest name I've heard all day today. I needed that giggle. That's an awesome name. So, how many of you listened to my previous small little live about unpopular opinions? Because I've been running across a lot of unpopular opinions, and I don't know if it's as much of an unpopular opinion as it is just an absolute unwillingness to expand their understanding about what is going on in the world, in our nation, specifically with trafficking, specifically with child trafficking, specifically with uh, the criminal component that seems to be amplifying daily at this rate. And oddly enough, I did get a response back from the lady that said I misunderstood her. Um, and that, she does see dead bodies by the border and she understands there's an issue, but what I'm trying to tell her is that the border crossing itself is not the issue. The border crossing itself is pretty much the diversion, because that's where the people that want to walk through, wade the river, have a very individualized approach and a very independent reason as to why they're being there come. Because the people that are usually smuggling, funneling something that doesn't need to be here, they're doing much larger scale inventory in much larger scale processes through shipping and using our own modes of transportation cross country and internationally to do the bad things. They basically pay people off to do it. The same way you would internationally ship a package to a friend, they're going to pay off and ship people to somebody. And a lot of people do not want to hear these things. They don't want to know. They don't want to know the truth. And then when you tell them the truth, they deny the truth because they've not seen it with their own two eyes. There's lots of things I've not seen with my own two eyes that I know exist. So why do we have a nation that is so willing to join into these fake causes and fake endeavors and fake fights, but they won't stand silently and listen to intelligence that tells them about real issues, real threats, and real things that they can combat? Because I don't know. I mean, speaking, just talking freely here, I feel like I live in a nation of idiots. I feel like I live in a nation of idiots and in a nation of lushes and in a nation of cowards. Because if you go on a prominent platform or a prominent application or a prominent news media, you do not see the representation of the full body of America. You see this you get the skim milk version, and whole milk America is getting kind of pissed about that. And I just want to know, is anybody else frustrated with that? I'm so frustrated with that. And then you get skim milk America telling whole milk America, how to live, and we're like, dude, can you understand that we live differently and that's okay? And most of the fighting and most of the issue is internal within our country. And you want to know something? Just look at dogs. Look at dogs in your front yard. If you've got a dog that is not well maintained, that you've not taken care of, that is not something that you have cleaned, taken care of, fed well, and raised well, he's going to be so busy dragging his butt across the yard to kill the worms coming out of him that he's not going to be able to protect your house. 90% of America are dogs dragging their butts across their own front yards, and they're not able to take care of their own house. And yeah, some people go, "Oh, your analogies are over the top," but honestly, it's very true. They've turned us to where we're so busy with stupid things that are so easily taken care of, but they've turned them into such problems that we're just constantly inundated with these small, stupid problems to where we can't take care of one big problem. But nobody will stand up and say, "Hey, those 5 bills that ain't gonna do diddly for anybody in this state. Let's just throw those away and let's work on this one right here that's going to help 70% of the people in the state." We have nobody standing up and doing that. We're allowing the people that we hire to throw our money all over the world, but it certainly is not circling back, is it? It's not coming back to us. And then I try to have a talk about, hey, the smuggling routes. This is how it occurs. This is the platform. And immediately I'm racist and xenophobic and stupid and too stupid to understand. And I'm sitting here going, just because I say it begins in South America, it doesn't mean it's South Americans that are doing it, that are fueling it, that are creating it. It's money that is creating the problem. It's big money. Big money comes from all over the world, from all nations, from all cultures, from all creeds, from all races. They just found the weak spot in the fence that nobody will fix. And that's why it flows normally from South America upward. That's the easiest mode of travel to sneak things in. And you can't say that, and you can't make anyone understand that without them jumping to extremes and saying, "You're a racist, you're a bigot, you're," and I'm just sitting here and going, "No, I have common sense. I look at stats. I look at what's going on. I look at the numbers coming through the border, and then I look at the stats for misdemeanor and criminal commission of crimes and how it follows the surge upward." Well, guess what else follows that surge upward? Anything illegal that comes through. Now, it may not go through the border, but it comes south it goes north. The majority of it does. Because other ports of entry are so well guarded and are so hard, they're just so hard to come in unannounced. You just can't camouflage yourself and hide in the cover. And I can't make people understand that. And so it's frustrating to me. It's frustrating to me. I actually have one of my old parolees that did quite the life of crime, and he was talking to me about how frustrating it was too, that he was trying to actually tell people how crime functions, and they wouldn't listen to him. And he was like a 25-year ex-con, and he was like, "They wouldn't listen to me, Miss Liz." And I was like, That's just willful stupidity. And he was like, yes, it is. He said, because I'm trying to tell them what we're seeing right now in our nation is basic theft from our nation. He said it's inundate with numbers, inundate with emotions, inundate with what causes, and then strip everything else away. And he said it's the same thing that criminals do when they go into small communities. They inundate these families. They terrorize these families. They create their own control, and then they start disassembling and taking what they want. And he was trying to explain this to this, to these families in this small community, and how to monitor and be aware and watch for these signs. And he said they didn't care because they thought that somebody was going to step in and save them. And he and I both had a good hearty laugh about that one. We had a really good hearty laugh about that one. So I don't know. I've been, all of this true crime and the drama, the rumor mills, the people not understanding the trafficking, the momentum behind the trafficking, the money behind the trafficking, the organizations behind the trafficking, how large the problem is. It's worldwide. And they think it's just an isolated event and three or four people that can be stopped. And when I try to explain, it's a worldwide mission to steal our children. Out of all the things that are funneled across this world, human lives are the most valuable and the most sought after. And people look at me like I'm crazy. And it's just like, okay, I just spent, a long time dealing with people, that extinguished life and disrespected life and broke every law, but every law in the book. But by all means, I'm sure you have had a book club in your suburban house, in your suburban neighborhood, and you've read two John Grisham novels, and you know better than me. By all means, tell me how the world works. So I get a little irritated sometimes, and I'm a little irritated today. Let's see. Let me move this and see how much noise I can make, so I can read some of this stuff. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of corruption. A lot of people, like I said, before I got into the underbelly of society with my law enforcement job, I did not understand how corrupt our land was. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. And so it's shocking. It's rather shocking for people. So shocking that most people never want to see it. So even if it's right in front of their face, they never want to see it. Um, so country Christian, I'm there with you. It ticks me off too. White Weaver, no, no, it wasn't. I don't believe it was you. I think it was the Cherokee girl, and there could be some miscommunication there, but I also think that what it was that she was trying to discuss a very finite point of the people that they find trying to cross the border, the dead bodies they find, and she was thinking that was the issue. That's not the issue. I mean, it's bad, it's horrible. People are losing their lives, and people that are trying to um, get into America, even illegally. I feel sorry for these people that are desiring a better life. If they would do it the right way, we would not find bodies everywhere. But the sad thing is that these hordes of people are used as the distraction for everything else that's going on. And so these people that think the big problem are the people at the border crossing the Rio Grande and the bodies being found and the kids being thrown over walls, they think that's the issue. That's the small distraction, because the issue is much larger. The issue is worldwide. The issue is hundreds of thousands of people and children that go missing every year, millions of dollars of illegal illegal weapons, illegal drugs that are shipped just as easily as people ship Amazon packages, and it's not being stopped. But they've got everybody looking at the border and thinking that this is the only issue, and it is an issue, but it's the distraction issue. Okay, who is making assumptions? White Weaver, I've no, I've everything you've said. I've appreciated everything you've posted. I saw quite a bit of wisdom in it. Um, I believe the one that I had the concern about was by someone named Cherokee something, and it was just a concern that there was a bigger picture, but they didn't want to see the bigger picture, and they certainly didn't want to talk about it. Let's see. I can give links. I can invite links. Would someone like to come up and chit chat? White Weaver, are you having an issue with the mod? Let's talk this out. I think everybody's taking everything a little too personally tonight. And it's been one of those days where has anybody noticed that the internet has been like a very abrasive place today? Like it's been not a fun place to be at all. Like everyone has been in attack mode. It's been it's been it's been horrible. I mean, it's been absolutely horrible. And normally when I try to like say something, I try to educate, or I try to offer a few different perspectives. And oh my goodness, today was not a day that anyone wanted a perspective, and it was just such a bad day. What Weaver? Why don't if can I give you a link? Will you come up and talk to me, because I normally enjoy everything that you say, and I think it's getting lost in translation in the chat. So would you like to come up and talk to me? Let me see if I can do this. Okay, there is the chat link. Christina Logan, that's excellent. Excellent. And do you know how many people that have no idea of any existence of anything like that? Do you know that so many people have no idea that there are retired vets that are subcontracted to go after children that have been kidnapped? There's so many things that people just, and it's because it's an ugly topic, and they don't want They don't want to welcome that ugly topic into their life. But if it's in the world you live in, it's already in your life. So you have to handle it. Yeah, and I mean, and as much as I have been shown and thrust into with the line of work that I have dealt with, there's still more that I need to learn. There's still stuff that I don't understand. And so there's still a lot of research that I have to do. I just want to see people that want to seek education, want to seek intelligence, and want to seek understanding, and want to learn how their communities operate, learn what their elected officials' jobs are, what are the requirements for the job, how did that person get elected, what did they do, how do you run for office, is there a better option for somebody in that office, how do you start looking into taking over an elected position if you are the better person. And there are people that have no idea how to begin doing that, and literally there are programs, funds, and free training courses that will take you through the entire process. And people have no idea. My uncle is retired Air Force, and he knows of all these programs. And if I can get with him, he's traveling right now, but if I can get with him, I can get the internet sources that will train you, basically teach you step by step how to run for office, get money for your campaign, especially in rural areas, run for office, make sure that you meet all the requirements, and they'll actually help you plan your campaign. And the sad thing is it's heavily prominent to lean one way, and then they don't try to educate people that lean the other way. So it normally helps the side that most of us wish it didn't. But we've got to learn to take advantage of these same processes, of these same funds, and these same training ventures, so that we can learn how to be more active, more respected, more vocal in our communities. We are drowning. We are drowning in a sea of people that have ideas, but there's no intellectual bullet points behind the ideas. They have an idea, but they have no idea how to make that idea come to fruition. And it's like, okay, well, the 5 minutes you gave that, you probably should have had 5 years of thought behind it. Um, and I don't know. People saying, well, what's the problem? What's the problem? Why are children being taken? Why is this occurring? It's occurring because people are not standing up anymore. Good people are not taking seats of power anymore. Good people are not um, trying to stand before the community and keep the old traits and the old ways alive. Families are not, you know, throwing absolute fits, saying I would rather be home with my child, and have um, not a new car, not a gigantic home, and not 4 vacations for a year, but I would rather have power over my children, what they learn, how they learn it, and how they absorb the world around them. So the grassroots effort of this is starting in each community and bringing awareness, and bringing the good people back out from hiding and saying, listen, we've got to absolutely stand up and say we're not evil, we're not bigoted, we're not racist, we love everybody. But we also know that we cannot live in a world where the fight is kept internal, because as long as we're fighting internally, then our boundaries are wide open for attack. We can't protect ourselves if we're we're busy trying to kick each other's hind ends. Imagine the rest of the world looking at us. We're like the Three Stooges. We're so busy smacking each other and poking each other's eyes out. We're in control of nothing. We are just entertainment at this point. Just entertainment. And it's just sad. It's sad. Because then when bad things happen in communities that have good people, the good people feel helpless and they don't know what happened. And the people that are in positions to know what happened are tight-lipped because they know where money and power comes from, and so nothing changes because we have people that want money and power over people that want safety and community and family environments. I posted the link if you want to come up and talk. You're welcome to. Anybody that wants to come up and talk. Oh, Weaver, don't worry. People call me names. It's just it doesn't bother me. It the thing that bothers me is that it shows the immediate the immediate grasp for ignorance rather than what I would hope would be the immediate desire to expand their brain. And so, I mean, they can call me whatever name they want to. I'm just really upset that that is someone that I know is closed minded and so closed minded that they're not going to benefit this nation. They're not going to benefit this country. And they're not going to stand up and fight for anything because they feel that any kind of battle, any kind of statement of opinion means you're racist or bigoted or xenophobic or and they've got so many people trained to believe that now that you can't have an opinion. You can't have an opinion without being a bad person. I mean, it's scam. It's a scam. It's a mental scam. White Weaver, I appreciate all your support. You've always been super consistent, and when you respond, you are super articulate. It's well thought out. You always have great points. I can tell that you put a lot of thought behind what you post, and I appreciate that. How do I add? Oh, add you to stream. Hey, see, I'm learning.
Good girl, you done good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm learning. See, I'm learning how to use StreamYard. It's been one of those
Well,
days.
uh, I want to apologize again to Whitewater on here. I know I probably said something than what I said, but we're all good now. It's all good.
Well,
Uh,
we get in these little boxes and we read and we don't and we read and we process too quickly and then we respond too quickly and sometimes we have to apologize and that's okay. So we're all
yeah,
good. We're all good. Now tell me, I know that your community was having after the flood was having the Army Corps of Engineers want to come in and basically take three schools, convert them into one, and build this brand new like 230 million plus dollar school.
now hold on a minute. Hold on. It's $91 million school.
Oh, now they've changed it to $91 million.
Well, they still got the $235 million in their pocket right now
Wow.
from the '77 flood.
And they're
And
doing this because they say that the buildings that the schools are in now are in danger due to flood zones.
yes,
Okay, but then what do they do? Okay, because they've done this before. They've consolidated schools before, and then the old school buildings get reimagined into something else. Correct?
correct.
But weren't they also in dangerous flood zones, and which is why they had to be emptied?
Well, see, I don't know anything about certain areas, but I know a lot about my area and where I live. I am based out of Hurley, Virginia, which you already know that because you know me and you talk on a daily basis.
Yes.
Um, as of right now, they don't want to build a second school because uh, they wanted, they voted, was it Monday night or Tuesday night? It was one night last week, and they usually have a school board meeting once a month, but they upped it. I don't know why they upped it for. That's something to me. And another thing is, um, you need to go back and look. Okay, here's another thing too. If you go back and look at the coon dog scandal, coon dog operation out of Grundy, Virginia, back in 2002, we got a major flood here,
Yes.
and the supervisor paid $40,000 for coon dogs, and he ended up going to prison. But now I don't know how it works in this state, but he got elected for school board member, and
So
I'm like,
did he buy those dogs with allocated funds that should not have been spent on canines?
no, he spent them funds out of the daggone the funds from where he got from FEMA, I think.
I mean, you know, some partial my coonhounds, but I'm not going to put myself in a federal pen because of a coonhound. I'm adding White Weaver to
He
the
was in the
stream.
he was in the pen. Hey, Whitewater, how are you, baby?
Is it what? No, it's White Weaver. I need
Oh,
glasses,
I
y'all.
Whitewater. I'm sorry, White Weaver.
I need glasses, but yeah, that's Weaver. Okay. So okay, so $40,000 for dogs. So there's a history of money dumps in this area that concern me greatly that I've been looking into. Is this something that other people are seeing? White Weaver, have you ever seen anything like this in your community?
We can't hear you, White
I
Weaver.
can't hear a thing. How do I? Is it on my end or your end? Do you have your mic on?
Now,
There we go. I
okay.
thought I. There we go.
There. Now you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, no, I had to reboot, so I missed a whole lot of conversation, unfortunately, because my stuff was acting wonky. Remember, I'm in Mexico, so my internet gets weird, and we've been in rainy season.
I understand because when it rains here on the top of the mountain, and it seems like, honestly, I can tell people when we're so sensitive here, when the neighbor's dog pees up the road, the internet goes crazy. So I understand completely.
Yeah, it's kind of like that here. Like somebody could sneeze next door, and the internet gets weird. So it's yeah, same
So
thing.
you're in a
It's
very good position to have seen basically the Venezuela component to all of this.
um. No, I'm in the Yucatan, so I'm closer to Guatemala. So I cannot. Huh. Can you see me better this way? Oh, there we go. Maybe.
It
Tell us
doesn't
the
Maybe.
matter
vibe.
as long as we get to talk to you. That's fine. There you go. You can do that.
Yeah,
You don't
we
have
don't
to
we
have the
don't mind.
camera on.
I feel better that way, anyways.
Tell us
Okay.
the vibe
So,
that's coming from that area and kind of what they think they're seeing happen in the U.S.
well, it's interesting because our news here is actually pretty benign. Um, we're we're way down in the peninsula. And so most of what we have is what's going on with any trafficking into Belize and
Mm-hmm.
into Guatemala, like with a lot of the cartel problems in Guatemala.
Okay.
and the violence in Guatemala. So we don't have a lot of what's happening with the American border
So you're seeing more
issues.
of your own isolated issues.
Yeah, we have a lot of, and we don't have, we're really, really lucky where we live that we don't have a lot of violence and a lot of crime. So um, it's pretty chill. uh, if you go closer to Belize, of course, Guatemala has a lot of crime and a lot of issues in those areas. But right where we are, it's pretty insulated. I mean, there is narco crime here. It's just
Hmm.
not as rampant as other states.
And
So,
th- that's that's sad because if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have said that my area was insulated and saw less and was safer. But now I would have to say that things are elevating so rapidly, and
right.
and we've got adjoining counties that the foster boards and state homes are being overrun with kids that they don't know where they came from.
Well, we just had one recent tragedy in Cancun. I'm sure it made the U.S. media and probably played up there ad nauseum, where two American tourists got shot on the beach on accident. Not accident. Well, yeah, it was an accident because they ended up being collateral damage in a narco shooting. Um, Usually, narco violence here, the narcos are very good at targeting the people they want to kill. They go in, kill the culprits, whoever's offended them.
Yeah,
And
it's
you're going to
normally a
have to
very
hear traffic. I'm going
clean
outside. So,
contract kill.
Are
yes, they're
you?
very clean.
Go ahead.
They go in, they kill who they want. I'm sorry about the traffic noise. I need a cigarette. Um, they go in, kill whoever they intend to kill, and then they leave. And even if that means shooting someone in the street, they're going to kill that person and they take off. That's it. We don't get a lot of collateral damage. So, unfortunately, whatever happened in Cancun, there were two tourists who were in the way and got killed. And that was really tragic. And of course, it got blown up really big in the US media. And because it's tourist season here. And so everybody was like, oh my God, aren't you afraid to live down there? Because we live about 15 minutes from the Cancun airport. And we're like, no, because A, I don't use drugs. Two, I don't have anything to do with narcos. And it's such a rare event that happens. It just doesn't. It's not. I've been here 5 years. And in the 5 years that I've been here, there have I personally have known of three shootings.
That's actually really good numbers.
Yeah, I think so.
And the sad thing is I live in what should be one of the most rural, insulated, isolated, quiet places, and we have actually become the freaking Amber Alert capital of the nation lately for some reason.
Yeah, and
It's
see, we don't have
crazy.
children go missing here. We don't have missing children. We don't have. Um, we just don't have that same kind of thing. Like community and family is everything here. So
It's a
it's a very
priority.
different um, culture
Yes.
from the US culture. And like when I'm sick, my neighbors show up with soup. If they don't see me for 3 or 4 days, they show up at my door to make sure I'm okay. You know, it's it's a very, very different culture. And so if I seem protective sometimes of the Mexican culture, it's that because I have lived in and out of Mexico my whole life. It's my natural second language, and I understand the culture of the Mexican people. Um, and I also know how they get vilified a lot in the US. And I struggle with that a great deal because I understand that it's so nuanced. It's like it's always about the money, like you were saying. It's not the Mexican people, it's the people with the money who use the Mexican people
That's
as
it.
the scapegoats. It's just like the same thing that's happened to the blacks or the Indians or
Yes.
anybody else without power. You know, it's the people with power using the people without power as scapegoats to, because I'm a Native American, and it's the same thing, right? It's always the people with power scapegoating the people with no power.
And nobody wants to allow you to have that conversation.
Right. And so for me, like that's the part that breaks my heart and why when earlier I was saying the conversation is so nuanced and we have to be willing to have the nuanced conversation. We can't just say, oh, it's just the Mexicans, or it's just the blacks, or it's just the this. It's just no, it's so much more nuanced than
Yeah,
that.
when you
It's
look at
about
it,
money and power. We
it's
can't.
not just a stream. It is acres and acres of tributaries that feed each other. It's not just
Right,
one stream, and we have to look at the entire picture. And
right,
in the media and a lot of governments and a lot of powerful people um, have stopped us from being able to have those conversations or use those words we need to use, or they try to belittle us if we try to have those conversations, or they try to demonize us if we try to have those conversations. And it's like without these conversations, without this dialogue, without this communication, is not going to change, and they don't want it to change because right now the power is going straight to them.
absolutely. And the other thing that people are so unaware of is that the media itself, is there are two medias. There is right wing and left wing, and
And they're
so
they're all owned by like the same five or six family components.
absolutely. And the algorithms are designed based on what your preferences are.
Yes.
So if you are someone who likes more conservatives, you're going to be fed a conservative narrative. And if you're someone who is more left leaning, you're going to be fed a more left leaning narrative in the media. And so nobody's ever going to get that more centrist view of what the like a more nuanced view
No, it's a
of what the
fight.
truth is,
It's a fight. Even with a
right?
VPN, even with a VPN, going and reading stuff from the UK and Israel and going up and reading what's going on in the Finnish areas, and I try to get like a good collective view of what the
Right.
overall consensus is. It's still difficult, even when
It's
you're
still very
trying.
hard. It's because it's so controlled. It's controlled opposition against what people think. I mean, Big Brother really has controlled what people are thinking, and it's so sad to see that happening. That people aren't, like you've talked a lot about critical thinking. People don't think critically anymore. I just recently watched this great video on YouTube. If I can find it, I'll send it to you, Liz, because I think you'll enjoy it. There was a man during the Holocaust who did a whole study on stupidity. because he was trying to figure out how all these people followed Hitler and how they
Yeah.
gave up these really intelligent, I mean, highly educated people gave up their will to Hitler and allowed all
And
these
how easy it
atrocities to happen.
was.
Yes. And he actually wrote a book about it. And his book is available, but they killed him for it.
Yes.
Ultimately, they killed him. And, you know, with my brain stuff, I can't remember exactly what his name is, but I do have it saved, and I'll find the link.
I think I've read about that online, but if you could actually get the link to the book, I would absolutely order the book and read it probably
It
five
is
times over.
brilliant. It is brilliant what the theory is, because I said the problem is not ignorance; it is willful stupidity. What has
That's
happened?
it. That's it. And I
People have
go
have
ahead.
given up their right to free thinking, to critical thinking, to the ability to just stop and think critically about, does this actually make sense? You
Yeah,
know?
people have gotten to where they want to feel. Feelings are the most important thing. Well, I don't think feelings are the most important thing, because when you're feeling something, your sympathetic nervous system is overriding all logic.
Right.
You are not in control.
Yeah.
You're
I have a
riding the
lot of
bus
big
to
feelings.
nowhere.
Right. I have a lot of big
And
feelings about a lot of things, but that doesn't make it true.
that's it.
You
So
know?
when I am inundated with someone that wants to make me feel a certain way, I get space and I watch and I look for motive and I look for intent. And I'm like, what are you up to? Because, they've driven emotions as something that, everybody should have a scream of righteousness, but they don't even live righteous anymore. The people that
Plus,
are out policing the streets are doing so in the name of their own violence, but they think they're doing something right.
plus, we also know, and you know this is because you've studied psychology, that no one can make you feel anything. You choose to allow someone to evoke an emotion in you, but
Oh
nobody
yes,
can make you feel anything.
you
So
choose to jump on that wagon and ride along.
that's right. You know, so if you want to feel something, great. You've chosen that. But nobody has the right to make you, like, nobody makes you angry. Nobody makes you sad. Nobody makes you jump on a bandwagon with something. Like, you got on it. You
But
did
it
it.
cracks me up in media when you see these people screaming at each other. They're screaming, and the calm side, the calm people that are trying to calmly say, "Oh, I'm not going to speak to you until you can talk to me calmly." They're like, "You have no emotions. You don't care. And I'm like, whoa, they have lost themselves completely. They
Oh,
don't
yeah.
understand that it's the opposite. These people care enough to shut up, sit down, and think. You don't care, so you're just being mouthy and and creating this huge fluff, that is doing nothing. And
Right.
I see these young people that they're like, I'm going to change the world, and I'm like, how about you get to know it first?
Well, there's that, and then there's this whole generation, the woke generation, the cancel culture, you know, you can't you can't be woke and canceling people at the same time. That doesn't work.
Amen.
You know, you have to let people voice their opinions. You have to be willing to have calm, open dialogue. And the other thing is, you have to be willing to radically listen, which means that you hear people
Mm-hmm.
without judgment,
And
literally
respond.
listen. You listen, not thinking about what you're going to say next, but
Mm-hmm.
listen to what they're saying so that you can hear what's underlying. What is the underlying emotion? What is the underlying thought that this person is having? And then respond.
Because if you
coming,
don't do that, all you're doing is reacting.
then you're just reactionary, right? Absolutely. So, when people are just going at each other and constantly in this reactionary state with one another, you cannot have dialogue. It's impossible to have dialogue. You have to be able to listen. You have to be able to have an open, honest conversation with each other about really tough conversations. There are a lot of people I do not agree with on a lot of subjects, but it doesn't mean that I'm not willing to discuss those things with them. I don't have to agree with you to talk to you about it. As a matter of fact, a lot of times I want to talk about it because I want to understand what your point of view is on it. You know?
I'm always interested to understand different lifestyles, different storylines, different types of child rearing, and different kinds of education through different cultures. Um, because I think it's just so interesting. Because I think if we were all the same, what a boring place the world would be. And so
Mhm.
I love to learn about different people.
Me
And so
too.
when I meet people that want to, just shut me down and just say, "Well, you're just a stupid hick," who's from stupid Hickville and has never seen the world, I'm sitting here going, I've got friends in Prague, Canada, Australia. I mean, I'm sitting here going, I have gone above and beyond to take myself out of my own little bubble and learn about the world. And the only thing you've learned is how to,
Insult you.
yes. And it's just like, it's crazy. I'm just like, you people need to grow. But at the same time, those people that insult me, I still would respect them. That if we were on the streets and something dangerous occurred, I would be grabbing them to try to save their lives. I would be
Absolutely.
putting myself as a barrier between them and something else that was going on because that's who I am. But not many people understand the value of human life anymore. They don't understand it. It just, it's lost. We've lost ourselves.
Right. We have. Right. Well, it's like um, just teaching, like, I mean, that's what I do is I teach about basic compassion, right? That's what I do on my channel is try and teach people about compassionate communication, compassion toward yourself, looking at humanity, not looking at our differences, but looking at our commonalities.
Yeah.
That we are all a part of the divine. Whatever the divine means to you, it doesn't matter what your religion is, it doesn't matter how you define that, but the fact that we all come from the Creator, God, right? We all believe in God.
Mhm.
And if we can all see each other from that place and have compassion for that and meet each other there, that's a starting point to be able to
Absolutely.
have these conversations and be able to respect each other. And just that little bit of kindness goes a long way in being able to hear each other, see each other, smile at each other, have patience for each other, apologize when you do something, you know. Um, if you have inadvertently offended your neighbor, apologize, make amends, whatever you have to do. But do that thing because it doesn't minimize you in any way. It doesn't take anything from us. For some reason, people think it takes something away from you. It doesn't. We're not losing anything.
They look at everything like a video game life score.
Yes. You know, and maybe it's just because I'm getting old. I don't know. But I figure, what do I have to lose by being kind to the person next to me? By helping a little old lady carry something across the street or aiding somebody with something. I don't have. it doesn't diminish me. I don't have anything to lose. It only helps the world be a little bit better in some way, you know.
In my life, the only thing I have noticed that can be made from nothing and continually be made from nothing is love.
That's right.
So I sling that crap everywhere because it's easy to come by and you can always make more.
Liz loves everybody, and so do I.
Well, I was raised to believe that God is love, and so if if we believe God is love, then don't we have an obligation to spread that everywhere?
1 John 4, 7, and 8.
That's right. You know, we have an obligation to live that and spread it everywhere.
We'll just go ahead and make YouTube stupid. I'll just go ahead and quote a Bible verse. 1 John 4, 7, and 8. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God.
That's right. You know, we are light. We are love. Let's just let it shine. Spread it out. You can't get rid of it. Just keep giving it out. Keep giving it out, and that's our job. I think that's our sole purpose. And
I agree.
you
I
know,
agree. I think it's the connections we have with people and how we use the light that is placed within us by our creator, or whoever you see as your creator, by our creator. It's how you use that light during your life towards your fellow man.
right.
I think
And I mean,
that's
I
the most
studied
important thing.
theology. I have studied theology, and every major religion teaches the exact same thing
They do.
about
They
spread.
just have different characters in the same roles.
Yeah, but it's always the same thing. God
It
is
is.
love, spread light, spread it everywhere. That's the same thing. Be kind, do no harm, spread light. You know, it's it's just what people have done with it that have twisted it. And we can't we can't keep it twisted. We've got to do better. You know, we just have to do better.
We
And
do. We do. And when we've got to start holding each other accountable again without screaming, "You're racist, you're a bigot." And just no, you need to be a better person. And it's not me being racist or bigoted. It's me saying you have more within you and you need to use it because you're jipping yourself.
well, that's so unhelpful. And I figured that I feel like that's got to be a young person, part of that woke cancel culture, because that is so unhelpful
It's a
to do
thumb
that.
suck move. It's a self-soothing thumb suck move to start
Yeah.
screaming those nasty words because you have no actual thought pattern, to stand on. So you go to that self-soothe, thumb sucking, childlike behavior where you start screaming those things where you know it will create space.
Oh, no viable argument, right? Like no real nothing, no real argument to stand on. So you just are like, oh, bigot, oh, racist, you know, because you can't think of anything else saying, well, maybe it's more nuanced than that. Maybe there's something more we should look at, like power structures and, you know, deep, deeper subjects like
Start looking for the pattern.
colonialism. Colonialism might be the culprit, or we could talk about governments that are in each other's pockets and
Yeah.
all these other things that are creating the issues, but not, you can't just scream racism. That doesn't,
They
it's
think it's
unhelpful.
having an impact, but pretty soon the words will have no meaning and will have no energy behind them, and it will have to be replaced with something else even more violent. Where are we going to go then?
Well, it actually creates more racism.
It does. It just
Actually,
keeps upping the ante.
did you see Ryan Upchurch did a video where he did the non-apology apology not too long ago. Did you see that? Where he refused to apologize?
Oh yeah, yeah. He stands his ground pretty firm. Every once in a while,
And
he he gets emotional, and I'm like, "Yo, Ryan, chill." but
No, but
but
I
I
have to
like I
tell
like when
you,
he gets in his "this is who I am" and stop trying to change me modes.
I loved his non apology videos so much because one of the things he said that struck me as one of the most powerful things I've heard in a long time was, what? You white people act like black people are weak. Whenever you think we have to apologize to black people, that we owe them some kind of apology. It's as if we're saying they're too weak to know themselves.
Yeah.
That when he laid it out he was so cogent, and it was so well put out there, and I just thought, good for you, Ryan. You just say it, because he was so dead on.
Oh yeah,
It
he has
was like,
moments of brilliance where what comes out of him is I mean, he's a terribly old soul.
he is such an old soul. I tell you what, I love that boy. And
He's a sweetie pie. If sometimes if I tag him in the live, sometimes he'll pop in and say howdy and talk to us for a minute. But he does sometimes, and we've talked about this, me and him too. He does sometimes set his energy in a destructive path, and then I have to kind of go, hey, whoop, 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 bring it back over here, boy. you know. But that's just that's the young man in him that's still learning the world. But Buddy, when he gets it right, he gets it right,
yeah,
and
but he
it
really,
amazes me.
yeah. And he's an old soul, and um, I think he has some spiritual gifts that,
Yeah, I've begged him to let me help him write that book
yeah,
about the ghost and the past lives and stuff like that he keeps talking about, because I would so be there to discuss all of that and to put it on paper.
yeah, he's gifted. But I valued so much what he had to say about that, because when it does come to that, I think that um, people screaming racism, and people, and this is coming from a Native woman. It doesn't help the cause. It makes it worse. It creates more racism. And because look, it's just like it's kind of the same thing feminism did in the 70s, right? It created more misogyny.
Yep.
And and the more people scream racism, it creates more white supremacy. So because people move out of fear instead of out of love when you start bringing these things up and just shoving it in their face. But if we were having honest conversations about it, gentle conversations about it, people might be able to see the opposite point of view of it. You know, what is it really like? But when people are angry, nobody relates to anger. People get defensive. If you put people on the defensive, they're not hearing you.
It always amazes me when a new movement occurs, how there's like the attack mob. Like after the George Floyd incident occurred, everybody started going through everybody's Facebook account, seeing if they had a diverse friend group. And I have a pretty diverse friend group, and I've got people from all over the world and all different cultures. And then I've got um I'm extremely rural, but I still have several um black and biracial family groups that are and I have biracial cousins that I've
Yeah,
helped raise. And so people are like, "What have you done? What have you done? What have you done for this friend on your Facebook thread? You probably don't even know her. You just have her there as a token." I was like, "Actually, I just made her baby a quilt because it's just 2 weeks old, and I put it in the mail, and it took me 6 months to hand stitch that sucker because it was her first baby, and you celebrate that first baby, you know." And they're like, "Oh, well, but you don't know her." I hope I do, we talk daily, and she's asked me to babysit. I certainly hope we know each other, and then they just kind of bypass you and go into the next person to attack. And I was just amazed because it wasn't just happening to me. Like, there were so many people going, is anybody getting like random attacks about you don't have a diverse enough Facebook friend group? And everybody was setting their friend group to private, and I was like, this is crazy. This is stupid. This is, who has time to sit and go through a computer and attack random people about random things?
Well, let me tell you, I come from a family. I'm Native American. My brother's half Lebanese. My cousin, I have one cousin is half black, and the other one is half Mexican. And I am, I'm married to a woman. I've been married to her for 22 years. And when the Occupy movement was going, uh, I was accused of being a racist, homophobic, transphobic bitch.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So they just completely missed all the signs.
And I was like, wow.
Wow. That's impressive.
And it was because I didn't have anything on my social media because I don't feel like it's anybody's business, really. My private life is my private life. I don't feel like I need to announce the world normally. And because I didn't have a rainbow flag on my stuff, that people do, and I don't have all this stuff. And they were
Priscilla, I'm
like,
getting a lot of feedback on your phone. I may have to mute you for a minute.
Okay, hold on. Let me do something else.
well, what are you doing for the cause? What do you do? How come you don't have a rainbow flag then? Why do you? And I was like, okay, look, I'm a lot older than y'all. My partner is like 22 years or 12 years older than me. We come from a different generation. We just happen to believe our private lives is our private life. People who know us don't care what we are. We just don't shove it down people's throat. It's just the difference. That's all. It's just different.
Yeah,
But
I've
it does.
had several people just attack me since I've been going on YouTube because I live such a different life, and and it's not that I live a different life. I live an old school life, which is not understood anymore.
Yeah.
And they will just attack me. I mean, they'll just crawl all over me, and they want me to respond. And normally, I have my normal response was, "Hey, thanks for being such a good friend.
Yeah.
And while your head is so far up my behind, would you check for polyps because my doctor's concerned? You're such a good friend. Thank you so much." And then they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, heck, I don't know how to take that," and they normally leave me alone after that. Um, but it's like I would never interject myself into somebody else's life and try to immediately control it.
Look, you know what? What people do in their own personal life is what people do in their own personal life. Stay the hell out of people's personal lives. For God's sake, if you ain't paying my bills, stay out of my life. That's how I
Seriously.
look at it. You
It's like
don't
I was
pay my
talking about
bills.
LP the other night. Do you know who Laura Pergolesi is?
Uh-uh.
Laura Pergolesi is her voice is angelic. Her mother was an opera singer. She is like a hip hop, jazz, rock kind of thing. She's got the voice of an angel. She is very obviously living a lesbian lifestyle, but you know something? That's her lifestyle. It's not mine. I just appreciate her music and her songwriting skills and her voice. And so I would go to her concerts and just sit there and just be in heaven listening to this angelic voice. And I loved every minute there. I mean, the people that were there were good people. I never had a problem with anybody. And I would come back to my poor little rural town, and they were like, "Well, how did you deal with all the heathens?" I said, "Oh, we were all in a public place, and we were all on our best behavior, so we had no issues. And they were saying, well, how do you get along with people like that? I said, well, I didn't go home with them and go into their bedroom and crawl in bed with them, so I have no problems with them. I didn't interject myself where I didn't belong, so I have no problems with them.
Ignorance.
And people would look at me like that, but even my husband who is very, country, I was looking at Laura Pergolese. The first time I looked at her, I thought it was a little Italian man, and I was like, look at this little handsome Italian man. And my husband was like, I think that's a woman. I said, look at this little handsome Italian woman. It didn't change me at all because I thought she was beautiful. And so he knows that I'm more of just, I want to see a good person. I don't care what you do when you close your bedroom door. That's between you and whoever's in the bedroom with you.
Well, I
But
don't ask you what you do in your bedroom. Like, nobody asks me
seriously,
what I do in mine.
it's like, what decisions daily do I make based on someone else's sex life? I've yet to find one.
Well, and it's not just that. It's like I've always just said, like, people don't pay my bills. I have been with my wife 22 years. I know a lot of straight people that can't say that. So, I don't know. Judge me if you must. But,
Commitment's something that you just don't see anymore.
yeah.
And I'm just kind of one of those people that is like, I want to meet good people that are good to other people, that are good to each other, that strive for goodness, strive for happiness, and to create a culture of happiness around them. And 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 I don't have a problem with people that live life differently than me.
And
Now,
I'm a person of faith. So
if you
what?
my thing is, if you feel that your life is so different that you have to march naked down the street waving a flag, we might have an issue then.
Right. But I mean, we're both my wife and I are both people of faith. We pay our bills, we pay our taxes. We've been together 22 years. So, what makes me any different than any other person out there? Nothing, except for who I love. That's it.
I was
And
very lucky at the
if
age of
anyone's going to judge that, judge it. But
I was
most of
very
the time,
lucky at the age of 11 or 12. I a friend, because my dad was a preacher and I was raised so straight and narrow. Oh my gosh, it was, oh, what a life I had there for a while. It was, whew, it was rough. But my friend, her mom was going to throw an old Walkman and like two old cassettes away, and the cassettes were so old that the writing was worn off. And she's like, "Here, I thought you might want these." And I had to smuggle them in a sweet tea McDonald's cup to get it in the house. So I had to go buy a sweet tea at McDonald's, empty it, put everything in it, and pack it into the house so nobody would know that I had it, because I was not allowed to listen to the radio unless it was the gospel channel, and that's how strict my house was. And now here I am covered in ink, but that's a whole different story. My parents have grown a lot, and bless their hearts, they're much better for it. But I had to save up to buy the batteries for the Walkman. And I remember I had absolutely got the beating of my life one day. I had done something that had just got the wrong attention, and I got the beating of my life. And I went and hid in my closet afterwards to console myself and try to ground myself. And I put my batteries in my Walkman, and I pushed play, and I heard a voice that took me away, that made everything okay. And it was Freddie Mercury.
oh,
But I didn't know it was Freddie Mercury because there was no writing on the cassette tape, and internet was not alive in my neck of the woods. So 2 years
that's
later, when my high school got internet, I googled the lyrics of the song and found out that it was clean. It was Freddie Mercury, and I had been listening to Teo Toriade, that it's got the Japanese lyrics in it, and so I realized who it was. Then I went to Google on, because I wanted to, like, they had a fan club, and I was like, I'm going to write a letter of thanks for getting me through all this hard times and some of the abuse I'd gone through. And so I go to the fan club to try to get an address, and he had just passed like 2 months previous,
mm,
and I was heartbroken. And
yeah.
I was heartbroken. But in 2016, my husband bought me tickets to the North American Queen Convention, and I met Peter Freestone. which
Oh.
which was his assistant for the last 12 years of his life, and we bonded, and to this day we're good friends. And actually, last week when I was so sick and I'd been in the hospital overnight, he called from Prague, called and to check on me. and
Oh.
and I just some days I pinch myself because I'm like, that, what a blessing. And if you had asked me at age 12, in the life that I was in, I was just trying to make it to 18 to leave the world that I was in because I knew there was a better world out there. And now I'm tons of friends, great support, and I get Peter Freestone calling to check on me after I have health issues. And it's like, something, life is pretty good.
Isn't that amazing how God takes care of us in all those little ways and puts those things in front of us when we think we're never going to survive those harder times, and but there's always something, the helpers, the angels, those little things that get us through, you
Yeah, and you
know.
get to step back and take a look at the puzzle and understand when it's getting more complete and it makes more sense,
Yeah, it
and it just
does.
changes your whole motive to people, to the world, to life. It just changes your whole way of thinking.
Yeah, there's been lots of people I've talked to over the years that I've said, I know it seems really, really tough right now. Even my own daughter, she's gone through hard times, and I've told her, I said, it does, trust me, it does get better. I know it doesn't feel like it will, but it does. It, it will get better, I promise. I promise. you know,
I've been
life,
com- I've been
it,
completely ignoring the comments, um, because I've just been having such a good time talking. And Jenny has saying, I hear what you're saying. However, many marching outfits for any occasion, even Christopher Columbus. Um, I don't need to see anyone nearly naked. That's it. I think, I don't care if you celebrating. I don't care if you celebrating your niche in the world, or your inclusivity in a group. That's not the problem. What I care about is that it is presentation that is appropriate for public, and that it stays at a PG rating so that children don't become accustomed to seeing things that they don't need to see.
oh, I 100% agree. I don't go to pride parades for that very reason. I 100% agree. I absolutely. And I've from day one, I was married for 12 and a half years to a U.S. Marine. I have two children. My son is 34, my daughter's 33. And my children were 10 and 11 when I divorced my husband, and when I met Donna. And I would not have taken my children to a pride parade for anything in the world. And the first time I went to a pride parade, that was the last time. I said no. This is not me. I knew right then and there that that was not my people. Like, I was not that person that was gonna like fly flags and do all that. That's not. I don't go to Mardi Gras like that. I'm not that person. I'm just, that's not my thing. I don't see a need to be flamboyant in any way. That kind of half dressed, big party scene, naked people. Um, and it's the same thing like with the race thing. What the homosexual community has done has turned everybody off more by having these big parades and doing that, and it has repelled everybody because that's all they think gays are.
Like
Instead
when the
of
gay men's
people,
choir in San Francisco sang that song that said, "We're coming for your children," and they had sex offenders in the gay men's choir that they allowed to sing the phrase, "We're coming for your children." It's just like,
yeah,
we should have probably thought about that for 5 seconds.
yeah, instead of just being
Instead of just celebrating yourself and celebrating the
Instead of
love that
just,
you feel,
yeah,
you
instead
know,
of just living your life like Donna and I do, if you really want to assimilate, just assimilate. Just live your life. But you have to make a big darn deal about it and insist that everybody accepts you. Well, guess what?
resistance is
Everybody,
futile. That's kind of how I feel sometimes when I see these big groups coming after people. Resistance is futile, and I'm like, oh Lord, the Borg is after us all.
Yeah,
And
and I'm kind of the same. I'm not I don't politically lean that way because I just don't agree with shoving anything in anybody's face, frankly. I think that people come to things better when you show people who you truly are as a human being. And then, as an aside, they go, "Oh, you're gay? Okay, well, cool, whatever." Instead of being like, "Hi, I'm Gwen. I'm gay. You're gonna have to love that." Instead of like,
I watched this girl on TikTok the other day, and it took her like literally 3.5 minutes to introduce herself.
"Oh God, one of those."
And by
Hi.
the time it was over, I knew that she was also lactose intolerant, but I
Mm,
had no idea of anything that had to do with her heart
right.
or genuine concerns, loves, things that made her laugh. I knew nothing other than what her sexual preference and
Gender
bodily functions were.
sexual preference, gender preference, pronouns, bodily functions, food allergies. I know.
And I
It's
was just like, honey, a lot of people are not going to give you 3.5 minutes. It's just, that's why smiles are so important. That's why first impressions are and visual first impressions are so important. And that's why, yes, make yourself a billboard, but don't like overextend yourself to, garner attention that is not you. Like don't dress up into a character. Just be you.
just be you.
And
Yeah.
we have so many characters these days. We lost Priscilla. Of course, she's working, so she may have had something that she had to check on for work
Yeah.
wise. And I think I still see her in chat. And Priscilla, look at that link I sent you. If you think that will fit your dog girth wise, Priscilla's dog is having a hernia issue. Bless her heart. So I'm going to buy her
Oh,
a hernia support thing. Priscilla, look at that link that I sent you. If you think that will fit your little dog, you let me know, and I'll get that in the mail to you. Um, I'm all about animals, and my Yorkie has been with the babysitter since I've been sick, and he gets to come home tomorrow, and I'm just ecstatic. So maybe that's why I've had a rough week. I've not had my normal emotional support animal with me.
my Yorkie is currently completely crashed out at the end of the bed. In this moment, she is like laid out across the bed.
Jenny Lang said, "LOL. I didn't know because you're so refined, and I'm not." Um, Yeah, Priscilla, we just got into a good conversation. We were just, I can talk the hind leg off a mule. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, me too.
And
I'm
when I meet a
sorry.
new person, it's like, oh, good, we get to navigate the globe and get to know each other.
I need
So,
to have you come on my channel because this is so funny. Everybody says I have an Azure voice, and I've been getting the word lately is that my voice is very soothing, and so I put everybody to sleep.
Sharon does that from Down Under Crime Talks. When I was super sick last week, I would listen to Sharon from Down Under Crime Talks, and I would fall asleep. And I felt so bad. I was happy to be, you know, softly spoken to sleep. So I have a voice that is abrasive and twangy, melodic in its own way, but it's definitely aggravating at times.
My videos, apparently people get about 3 minutes into my videos and fall asleep. So I decided on my lives I need to find someone who's perky and,
Well, you just message me or email me. Denise, can you throw my email up in the chat? And you can
I
email
think
me.
Liz, I think I have your email. Haven't we emailed back and forth?
I think we may have. I emailed
Yeah.
several people. So if you want to do something, just email me. I'm starting to be stronger every day. Um,
Okay. Yeah,
so
I just went through 3 days of seizures, so I'm in bed actually,
I'm in
off and
bed
on.
right now too. That's why I didn't show my face and put a picture up. This is great though. We're all chillaxing and this is good healing,
Yeah.
therapy talk. This is great.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you
But
invited me up. I am actually going to get off here and take my meds and call it a night because
I'm
it's
about to call it night too. I was kind of hoping that Mike, Million Mile Mike, is that his name, was still around, but I think he may have gone to Triple T's channel. Um, he
But
is somebody
I did
that
want
I
to
enjoy
clear
talking
the
to.
air and make sure that I had not offended you because I wouldn't offend you for the world, and you
No,
know that.
no, no. And if somebody offends me, I mean, I'll talk about it. Well, and I'm honestly really hard to offend because I'm like, okay, wait, no, I need to think about this 50 different ways because they could have meant it 51 different ways. And I kind of want to get to the bottom of it. And at the end of the day, I'm really hard to offend because I literally, supervise murderers and juvenile delinquents, and I've been called, everything. I answer to anything that's not hostile. That's how poorly I have been treated during my careers. So it's very hard to offend me. And normally, even if there is a hiccup in communication, it just, for me, creates more communication, which is how you get out of the hiccup.
No,
So,
but what I'm saying is if I in any way said something that was not clear, I would rather you and I clear the air and that we clarify it because I would never in a million years say anything intentionally that would ups- not even if it didn't upset you, but that was not um, clear, clearly my intent. You know what I mean?
well, you certainly have never said anything that's made me feel in any negative way whatsoever. I always enjoy your post and always enjoy how thoughtful they are and how well thought out and articulate they are. So never worry about that. And I'm somebody that if there is an issue, then I'll yell at you and we'll talk it out because I don't want to lose my family. I want to keep my YouTube family, and so we have to learn to communicate. There's
Right.
I see Million Mile. He's still there. He says I didn't do it. I did.
All right. Good night, Liz. You have a wonderful night. Good night, everybody.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
for
joining
joining
us,
me. I
Shaw.
appreciate you so much.
I
Feel
appreciate
better.
you. Y'all have a good night.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.
Now, Million Mile, you have kind of been somebody that has just always been in the background, but you're constantly in the background. Would you like to come up and chit chat? I think I've kind of chit chatted and got off my chest what I needed to get off this evening. I am just, I so want to see our nation turn around, and I so want to see people become curious about responsible, positive things again instead of curious about how they can inflict harm and negativity on people so quickly. I don't know, I want to create a better world and I want education to be a primary. Let me drop a link to you. Oh, I'm still learning how to do all of this. Huh, see, I can do this. I'm learning. Jenny, you have cracked me up all night. I appreciate you. You have you have been so vocal and said so many things that have just tickled me. And you've shared so much. Oh, D Hop, your uncle passed. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And you got their dog. What kind of dog did you inherit? Let's see if I can get Mike in here. There you go, Mike. Yeah, I call you Mike. Wait, is I want is your name Wayne?
Yes.
Okay. It's hard to keep it straight in my brain. It just I have
Um,
so many new family members.
well, I've learned that with age comes wisdom.
Oh yeah,
And if you open your eyes, open your ears, shut the mouth, you can learn so much about
yeah,
people.
yeah. I'm
You
so
know,
tired of seeing 18 to 23-year-olds screaming at 70-year-olds.
yes, that's um, even my generation. Uh, we had our problems, which have led to problems today. But it all comes back down to the Bible. It says, teach your children these words
Mm-hmm.
so they'll return to them. And we go through stages and everything. And then eventually a light switch goes off in around 35 to 38. And then they start, hey, I'm starting to sound like my parents. Oh my God.
And things start to make sense. I know I made a remark when the riots first started after George Floyd, and all these young people went out and were throwing bricks through everything. I said if they only had a pile of bricks as big as the taxes they had paid, nobody would be throwing bricks because I bet none of them have paid many taxes. And everybody got so mad at me. And I said, I'm just being honest. People that young that are not in, they're not in the good career, swag yet. They're still in the climbing the corporate ladder. They're not earning the full potential yet. They're not paying many taxes. They don't have a true understanding of the cost of society and the cost of community and what it takes out of you, to benefit that community. And
And,
people got really mad at me, but I was like, legit. If they, if they only had bricks that, you know, that equaled the taxes they had paid, this would stop really quick.
well, I think what you were trying to say was, we need, um, like with country, getting into your community. And Ryan said the same thing also. You know, you need to be more involved in your community
Yes. Yeah.
because
Stop
we
trying to get your
start
own platform and start to learn your neighbors.
right. You clean up your own back porch before you try to sweep the whole front porch of the whole country.
That's absolutely true. And I think that's I think that's one of the biggest problems that we're seeing with the the youth of today is that they feel entitled to do none of the cleanup, none of the hard work, but to do all of the dictating. And it's backwards because you should start out doing some grunt work to build the rapport, to build the understanding, and then when you get that age and wisdom, then you start to have the voice to where you can dictate and
Exactly.
join in the conversations and be respected and be heard. And we've flipped it, and now we've got kids that, bless their hearts, have most of them have never had children, never had lived in a dorm for the majority of their life or under their parents' roof, never had true bills to pay, never had to wonder where their next meal is coming from, but they're trying to dictate the world. They don't even know how to function and write a check yet, or balance a checkbook, or look into money management accounts. They've they don't know how to burp a baby, but they're going to change the world, and I'm just sitting here appalled. And I never, I never say I'm smart. I say I'm an educated hillbilly. And, I have huge lapses in judgment sometimes, and I have huge brain farts at times. But common sense normally sticks with me, day to day. And as I have grown up, I've always noticed that I have been the quiet one in the room looking at the other people my same age going, oh, dear Jesus, we're screwed.
Yeah. And then the second key is, learning how to communicate. You know, after you make that logical decision and you listen to the person, then it's up to you to decide whether you want to hold a conversation with this person or not. You
Yep.
know,
Yep. And don't let them hijack your vocabulary. Don't let them change your words.
yeah, sometimes it's just better, to leave somebody alone and, pray for them and wish them the best of luck.
Yeah, there are some people that I
But
have
but
walked
that
away
don't mean
from.
that you don't care about them.
Yeah, I've walked away because the conflict would have taken away from anything positive that they could have gotten. So I just walk away and try to send good energy there when I think about them. Because
Yeah.
otherwise it would have just been ammunition for them because it would not have gone well. And sometimes you just have to detach and understand that that is not a battle worth fighting. It's going to cost you more than you're willing to pay, and you move on to greener pastures.
And at the end of the day, is their opinion really gonna affect my life?
Yeah, no, that's why I always these people that want to control the world. I'm like, are you going to buy my groceries and pay my bills and mow my yard? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I, if you want to be that ingrained, then let's come on, be ingrained. I've got fence rows that need to be cleaned. Come on, I'll put you to work. And but I think we've lost the message of love, and it's turned into a message of control. And a lot of people think control is love because they when they're in control they feel that dopamine rush, but it's not love. It's just a chemical lie. And we've got a lot of people now that are running around seeking these little chemical spurts of momentary happiness, and they have no idea that if they would just sit still and learn how to function as a human being and to link with other human beings and open up their heart, they would not have to have these exaggerated lifestyles to get these little dopamine hits, these little adrenaline hits.
Yeah. And one of the biggest tools that causes the dopamine and everything is sitting right here in our hands. These phones, YouTube, everything else,
Oh yeah.
everybody's looking for that. That's why I'm always in the background.
Instant gratification, or they want a
Right.
following, or they want to be perceived as a certain way, or they want to create a life that looks perfect because they want to feel perfect, and that's how they achieve that
And
that rush.
on that note, the case that we were just following and me and you were discussing, the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to put out such a facade of how great their life was and everything that nobody's seen what was going on in the background,
And
what was really going on with them.
yeah, as well as I do that the more stressful that it is that when you try to make your life look perfect, the more stressful it is, and the more problems it causes. Because life
Yes.
is life is not meant to be perfect. It's the
Huh?
imperfections that are the things that make life the best.
Leonard Skinner, simple man.
Well, that's what
Live
she
a
basically
simple
says,
life.
right? My brother, I'm going to tell you a joke about Leonard Skinner. We used to sing in the church, and we were standing in the pulpit. I had a fiddle in my hand. My brother had a guitar. My mother's standing flipping through a songbook. My dad's having a momentary impromptu sermon. My brother is in his head, kind of lost with a guitar in his hands, just kind of in zombie mode. And all of a sudden, he breaks out and does the beginning riff of Leonard Skinner's "On the Hunt." And I had to get my bow and pop him on the arm and go, "Stop it." And Mom just turned around and looked at us, and I just smiled like, "We're good back here, no problem."
Well,
But
I
you're
don't.
right. The perfection thing is what's the intoxication of this little box, the perfection, the promoting a lifestyle and a life that is not real, it's a facade, and not allowing people to be imperfect creatures. We've ruined society. We've ruined the expectations we place on ourselves and others. And that's why I come on here sometimes looking like a bag lady from Hades. And I don't care. It's what I have to say is more important than how I look. And, I have like three looks. I have eternally sick and near death. Um, I need to do the dishes, but I refuse to brush my hair. And then I have the, oh my God, I got up and put on makeup today. Those are my three looks. And I don't care how I look. If I have something important to say, I will come on and say it because I think the, what I need to say is more important than what I look like when I say it. And you don't see many creators that do that. They will spend 4 hours on their makeup and they have backdrops. And I'm just like, when did life become? It's like, those little viewers that used to put the little round slides in and look through it and pull the lever and it would rotate to the next picture and you could see the pictures from the movies and stuff. The little red viewers, they had the little round disc that you put in and it went from picture to picture to picture and you could see the best parts of the movie. And I feel like that's what people have tried to make life now. And it's like life is messy and it's supposed to be messy and it's supposed to be flawed
And
and it's a learning procedure. It's
well,
a journey.
and technology and everything, and the generations are younger generations. They've got so much to keep them distracted,
Yeah.
and the the ones that are really out there causing problems in the streets are the ones that have graduated high school, that just started college. Now they're learning something in college. I blame it on the liberal teachers, the professors in the colleges,
It's like
and
it's like they have no motive, they have no path.
right, and they're brainwashing our kids with this stuff,
Yeah.
and us as parents are sending our kids for an education, hoping to better their life, and they're being poisoned.
Yeah, and it keeps getting younger and younger. Now the government has assistant programs for families to put their kids in daycares and early learning centers at the age as early as 3, so that
Yes,
both parents can work. So they've got your children from 3 through basically almost 19, and then beyond if they go to college. When does the parent have time to parent anymore? So who is really raising these kids? Who is really establishing the role of the family in this nation anymore? It's certainly not the family because the family's too busy to be a family.
well, then it goes back to be careful what you ask for from the government. What
Mm-hmm.
seems like a good idea eventually turns into a monster.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
like when they
that's just
turned
like,
Yeah, they turned Appalachia into a welfare state, saying they were going to send all this money and do all these great things, but all they did was build more coal mines so that the government could have more energy, and they kept the people as basically slave wages, working for script and spending it at the company store, and they were basically
ex-
stuck in the
oh,
mines, and they couldn't move. And it wasn't to benefit Appalachia. It was portrayed that way, but it was to benefit the government.
and that was by, that money was supposedly through Joe Manchin's wife. That was her project. So,
There's a great on I think it's on Hulu. There's a great documentary called Hillbilly, and it's completely weird because the lady that was from um I think it was Kentucky or West Virginia. um she was actually a Hillary supporter, but she looked at it from the view of her family and challenged her own beliefs. but she told the story of a lot of what was wrong in Appalachia. So I think it's on Hulu and it's called Hillbilly. It was a very good documentary because it was like, yeah, okay, see, she let that one out of the bag. She told on herself there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and she even
And
mentioned how school and moving away affected her belief in in who she was and how she should behave in her own worth.
and then I'm not from Appalachia. I'm from the bottoms, the bottom of the chain down in Florida, the swamps. Uh, but country is country, no matter where you go.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's just um, communities are basically just the same demographics printed stamped all over the world. You've got kind of the same cast of characters everywhere. Um, and that's why it boggles my mind why we don't come together more than we currently do. It's like they divide us so readily, and I'm like, but if you like I drove to Michigan a few years ago, and I got along great with everybody because it was just like people that you would meet in Tennessee, just in Michigan. Went to
Hey,
Texas a few years ago, and I was like, these are just like people you'd meet in Tennessee. They're just in Texas.
well, from a little bitty county in Florida that Florida forgets, I've been pretty blessed, with my naval career and with my truck driving. I've seen a pretty good part of this blue marble. And what I've realized, over the years, at the end of the day, people want just three things: to take care of their family, shelter for their family, and food for their family.
Yeah,
I don't care where you go in the world. Them are the three things right there.
they just want survival, and they want to be respected enough to be given a chance to survive.
That's it. And make
Okay,
them, take care of themselves and their family.
I think you nailed it. I think that's one of the most important things that's been said tonight. I think that may be a great place to end too. Were you the one that was interested in my photography, correct?
That was what?
Were you interested in my photography?
Yes.
Okay, I thought that I'm thought that was you. Okay, so I
Be,
started loading the Etsy store today. I put a link in the community page on my channel. And what I'm going to do is later tonight or early in the morning, I'm going to load those digital prints that you were um, excited about and wanted to purchase. And you can actually just buy the digital rights, download it, and then
oh, okay.
you can use that and go, and you will then have rights over the photos, so you can go and print whenever, whatever, however many you want to, and that will save you so much money.
Okay. Because I used to be into photography for quite a few years. And when everything went digital, I just got away from it. But now that I'm retired, I'm thinking of, I'm interested in music and everything about it. I just found out that my local community college here has a course in music production and videography. So at my
Imagine
age, guess
that.
what I'm thinking about doing?
Yeah, no, that would benefit. You could teach me some stuff because I'm
Yeah,
interested in that stuff too. But I knew that you wanted either canvases or prints of those photos, and but it was just going to be so expensive, and I just don't I just when I got the prices, I was like, man, that's expensive. And then I thought, I can sell the digital image on Etsy, and you can download it, and you can go and print a canvas or whatever you want from wherever, and it will save you literally like 60% of what the cost was going to be. And if you don't know how where the best quality canvases and stuff are, ask me and I'll let you know. But I'm going to try to get those uploaded. What time is it? It's pushing 11. It may be tomorrow morning before I do it.
Okay.
But I'm going to try to upload those that you were interested in first, and then a few more. And then I've got several other fur items that David needs uploaded. So I'm just trying to help him out because he's working. So he's like working 7 days a week right now.
And
So
I seen the stuff that you posted on for the keychains and everything like that.
yes,
And you said that you have furs.
yeah. I just listed a big like 5 or 6 foot coyote. It's a gray, blonde gray coyote pelt, tan pelt, and I listed a raccoon pelt. And
Okay.
I've got more pelts to list, but it takes to do the photography and to lay them out and take pictures, and some of them are so big, and I try to, if I can go outside and do it, it's better because I can get more of the colors and the furs. And it's going to take me a while to get everything listed. So, but there will
I
be lots of coyotes on the way. I think one bobcat, uh, several beaver, um, some tails, coyote tails, and some raccoon tails. I think I might even have a possum. And I've just got to get it all done. I've even got some skulls. I've got some wood mounted skulls that are going to be on the way.
Well, I used to do mandalas and everything years ago. Um, do you know where I could get sinew at for
There is
making it?
a there is a man. Okay, on eBay there is a man in Kentucky, and I used to buy his sinew to do dream catchers with because it looked so much more
Yeah.
authentic when I wove them. And I will have to go and look and see if he is still in my saved sellers lot because he made everything himself. And if I can find him, I will give you that link because it's very hard to find people that make that, and they don't even make it at my little Amish community over here, which really kind of irritated me. So, but I did find the guy in Kentucky that makes it, but it's been I used to buy it in bulk, so it's been about a year since I bought any, and I actually need to see if he's got any more because I do a lot of lacings and stuff with it as well.
Well, I got a story about that. I was when my girls were young. They went down to the bus stop one day in Georgia, and it was extremely cold and everything. And they had this little girl, and she was like, "Oh, look, look, my daddy bought me this fur coat and everything, you know." And my girls come home and they were upset, and they were like, "Daddy, can you buy us a fur coat? Can you buy us a fur coat?" And I said, "I'll do you one better, since I'm making all these dream catchers with rabbit pelts and everything."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Baby girl, I'll make you one."
Well, there
I
you go.
made him the jacket with the uh deer antler buttons.
Oh, that would be
Made him the
cool.
little hat and made him the little muff for the hand warmers.
I've got a sewing
And
machine from like the 50s and 60s that is one of the really tough, good old sewing machines that would rival the industrial ones today. It's my granny's
mm,
one. It was given to me, and I'm thinking about attempting some raccoon and coyote hats this year. Because I think, as tough as that machine is, it will sew through it. So I think I may attempt that this year. But my husband does so
cool.
much. He does so much stuff, and he's so gifted, and he does it all old school, the old way. He does the old pickling recipes, and these hides are washed 3 and 4 times. By the time that you get them, they're clean and they're
That
beautiful.
and you were saying, people put country people uh, like us down and think we're uneducated because of the lifestyle we live. But I tell you what, if the lights go out, guess who's going to survive?
Yeah, there's not going to be a whole lot of difference when the electricity goes out in my life than where it's lived right now. I just won't be online, but I'll still be doing the same thing every day because during the winter we have wood heat. We cook on the wood stove. Um, it's just we normally have ice storms every year, and 6 or 7 feet of snow because we're on the top of the crag of the mountain, so we're the snow globe area, and you just get used to living in the older ways. And so when the lights go out, you break out the hurricane lamps and the coal oil lamps, and
You and you
and
can't get down the driveway and get to the store. You got the stuff in the storage
you
that's
put the
been pickled
Tupperware.
and
Yeah, you put the Tupperware in the snow outside so you can put your milk and make you a little redneck fridge, and
yep.
and then your warm house keeps all your canned items safe, and the farmer with the tractor checks on everybody, and the guys with 4-wheel drive runs to the stores for everybody, and we all take care of each other, and that's we're just used to it.
And
And so when the zombie apocalypse happens, I'm good.
but that's what we need to do is start teaching our youngins these skills. And so
Yeah. I get people that send me messages 2 and 3 times a day when they meet my son. They're amazed that my
yeah.
23-year-old son is somebody that gaffs, climbs trees, and surgically takes trees apart, and that he's up in the trees, rigged out, and not a bucket truck. He's doing it the old way, and they're just so amazed. They're like, "How did he learn that?" And I was like, "We raised him that way." And my ex-husband was like, the first time he met him, our son was 19, and he goes, "Well, my goodness," he's like, "Elizabeth, you raised quite a fine man." And I said, "What did you think I was going to raise?"
And,
It's like, "What did you think I was going to raise?"
and like the Bible says, you teach them these things and teach them these words, and eventually they'll return to them.
The old ways are there's so much depth of character that comes from learning the old hard ways, and that it can't be taught any other way. And so every time people meet my children that were raised in the old ways, that know how to do old things, like my daughter the other day, they had a one of her friends was like, "Oh, I need butter for this recipe," and she was like, "There's heavy whipping cream in the fridge."
And
She goes,
there
"But
you
I need butter," and Haley goes,
get the
"Heavy
churning,
whipping
youngin.
cream." And the girl was like, "But I don't have one of those Tupperware butter makers." And Haley goes, "A Tupperware bowl with a lid."
Have you ever heard of a mason jar with a lid? Get to
Seriously.
shaking.
And then one of the other girls said she wanted to make biscuits, but she didn't have buttermilk. And Haley goes, "We have vinegar." She goes, "Well, what's that got to do?" She goes, "Put vinegar in your milk and let it sit for 10 minutes. Well, what will that do? It's buttermilk."
It's buttermilk. What
and, I'm like, "Thank you, child. You did not fail me."
what is it? One teaspoon of vinegar to 1 cup of milk will get
We
you
don't
1 cup of buttermilk.
even measure anymore. We just flush it in there and let it go. I'm not one to buy buttermilk because that's the way we've always done it. But it's nice to know, to watch my kids know how to do these things. And like when my son was 14, I came home from work and I had like a 3 hour break so I could eat dinner, and then I had to go back out and do my home visits on my offenders. And I crested the hill and I saw smoke in my backyard, and I thought, what in the heck is going on in my backyard? And I parked my vehicle and I walked back there, and he had built a forge with my almost $40 Vidal Sassoon hairdryer, I might add, and was smelting iron to make a knife. And I thought, I just turned around
Yep.
and walked away and was like, "Go on with your bad self, son. I just just do it." And I lost them one day. They were 12 and 13, and we had bought him a dually off the farm, and it took him like 3 years to build it, put it back together. I lost him one day, and I was looking out the front door, screaming out the barn pasture, "Where the crap did y'all go?" Finally, go out the back door. He had backed his dually up to the shop, and he had welded a headache rack, and he was welding the headache rack onto the truck, and my daughter was trying to hold it. Of course, she's got hair down to her waist, and he had his welding helmet on, and she was looking the other way, screaming, "Don't catch my hair on fire!" And I thought, "Yep, those are my kids." So I was a
and
proud mom.
there's nothing wrong with teaching your kids these things. I mean, it may be the thing that saves their life one day.
It may very well be, and I like to dispel the myths that people in the country are stupid, and I really like to share the work videos of my son because when they see him
Mm-hmm.
up in those trees and then they see his picture and they see that he is such a young man and he's doing such a skilled job, and they just don't think it's possible anymore for young people to learn skilled labor. And I'm like, it is if you raise them and train them and teach them responsibility. And so I
Well,
love to share the videos of my son because people really enjoy those.
well, I'm going to brag on my daughter who just turned 34. Um, she's following in my footsteps. Um, she has become a truck driver.
Well, that's great because you know something that's difficult. Let me tell you what. Um, my grandpa, he drove the old, what was it, the old bulldoze trucks that had the two or three levers where you had to pull one and you had to let go of the steering wheel and pull one back and shift the other and then and
Oh,
he would let me help. And so I grew up thinking I was terribly special because he would let me help him shift the gears, and I knew kind of what to do. And and I've always wanted to see if I could drive a big rig because I spent so much time with Grandpa and his. But now I can drive
uh,
a front end loader, bobcat, any kind of machinery. So
you were raised country. Give you 5 to 15 minutes with the thing, and you'll have it figured out.
yeah, me and my husband had been married for like 2 months, and I was pulling logs out of the log woods for him with a big old tractor. And he was like, "Yeah, I didn't know you could drive a tractor." And I said, "There ain't much I can't drive because I was raised on a farm." And so before I went to kindergarten, I could hook up hydraulics, and I could hook up all the hay machines, the hay rake, the tethers, I could back up and change everything out. I could hitch up Grandpa's draft mules. I could hitch up Grandpa's Belgians. Um, I grew up on a farm. I could do it all, and I kind of raised my kids the same way. And my dad was a farrier, so I grew up in horse barns and on big horse farms. And then my mom was an educator, so I grew up on college campuses and in schools. So I guess that's why I was well rounded. Maybe that's what happened, but I think it's why I attract really good people. Like we have really great YouTube family. Like if you've been watching the conversations going on, they're having a
Uh-huh.
great time. They're having a great time just chit chatting amongst themselves while we're gabbing away. And then we've got
And
we've got a Hillbilly Lives Matter in here now with us.
you have what?
We've got a Hillbilly Lives Matter that's in the chat with us now. That's the first time I've seen that name before. And Denise,
Okay.
bless her heart, my faithful moderator, and I think Priscilla, Country Christian, I think she's gotten busy at work. I'll have to call and check on her in a few minutes.
Yeah, Denise and country, and I've got to know some of them, through the chat here and everything. I bounce all over the place, and what I try to do is like technology can be used for a good thing,
Yep.
or it can be used negatively. And I like your community here. You, when you said that you were into investigating and your background and everything, and I've actually been following you since the Katie Noel incident with Ryan.
Well, wasn't that a crapshoot?
Oh man,
That was a crapshoot.
have you seen his Pokemon video he just did?
I don't think I have. I may have to go look at it now.
I think it was yesterday or last night. He just did it, and it is hilarious.
I know he's got some guy named Daniel bugging him now, and I'm like, oh, Daniel, just stop now. Give it
Oh,
up.
Mister Bishop is. You might want to check that video out. He he calls it.
I'm just like just you're glutton for punishment. Don't poke the bear. Leave Ryan alone. And me and Ryan don't always agree on everything, but he knows that when I speak to him or I address something, that I do it from a place of love, because I genuinely want this boy to be repping for Tennessee forever. I think he's got something within him that is magical, and I want him. I'm just so proud of who he is and that he's an old soul. And
Yes.
he's young and he's learning and he's going through a lot of these highly emotional times in life, and I don't mind to go, hey, woohoo, chill beans just a little bit, bring it down just a hair, let's think about this. And he's always been really receptive to me, and I appreciate that. But I learned when he sings his songs and he does his lyrics and some of his videos, I
His
I get educated from him.
oh man, his lyrics on some of the spiritual stuff and everything. I mean, the
Blows me
boy gets
away.
really deep, and I think it go. I really appreciate those,
Blows me away.
like
Yep.
Ghost, the
Yep.
lyrics, and songs like that. And I think it goes over a lot of folks' heads.
I think
But
it does
he
too.
has a real deep mind.
He does. I would love, like, I've irritated him a couple times and been like, let's write this book. Let's write this book on your spiritual experiences, your views on reincarnation and the ghost ranch hauntings. Let's write this book. I've told him several times I'll do it for free. I just want to do this because I'm interested in it as well. And I've kind of bugged him a little bit about it. And maybe one day you'll break down and let me. I would love to go to a concert, but because I'm so unhealthy and it's my legs are so bad, it's hard for me to travel. It hurts me to travel, and then being in a concert where it's, you get kind of bumped around, knocked around. It's just not a good. So I'll never be able to go to a concert and enjoy it. But I would love to actually help him verbalize what I know is in his noggin on this subject, because when he just gives me a small glimpse of it, I'm just like, okay, we this needs to come out and be written. It needs to be written, and I'll do it completely for free. Just sit
Um,
down with me and let's do this.
do you mind if I promote my other boys that I like so much?
No, go right ahead because I probably listen to half of them too.
Well, I sent you your stuff, and you're like, man, you guys listen to some interesting stuff over there. And that'd be Jesse Howard and New Breed
Yes.
with your boy Dirty and ODR, Old Dirt Road.
Older, and I'm here to tell you one of my favorite people that I believe has just been signed by Ryan or is fixing to be signed, JJ Lawhorn.
Mm-hmm.
I love JJ and JJ and his girlfriend Kelsey. They just had their first baby. She just turned a year old, and I made her baby quilt and sent to him. They're great people, sweet people, the kindest people. JJ is an absolute mountain bred man, and he has got such a blue collar old soul. I mean, he's just from the mountain, from the farm. I mean, he shares more hunting videos and stuff like that than anything. And then music is his second love, but he's a gifted singer and songwriter too. So JJ Lawhorn is
Pardon me.
somebody that everybody should listen to. JJ Lawhorn is amazing, and he's a
And
good person.
that's how New Breed and Jesse Howard are. And all of them, they're all country boys. And they talk about, standing up for our rights, family first, you know, the
We're
simple
seeing
life.
we're seeing a shift back to the old country,
Yes.
and I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, I listen to rock and death metal and everything. I am musically bipolar, as my mother says, but my heart is in the deep southern country and in the bluegrass, because I'm here to tell you, when Kentucky Waltz comes on, I have to stop and have a moment of reverence, because that was the song that my papa played on his fiddle every evening.
Well, I get into the dark country
Yeah.
and like the Zydeco from Louisiana, the swamp music sound,
Yep.
the Mississippi blues,
Yep.
uh, the Delta blues. Oh man,
before my dad started preaching, before my dad got his life right. He's a pretty rough character, and I remember going in his truck and looking for music to put in the cassette player, and all he had was like Three Dog Night and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, my dad's kind of rough. But
Yeah.
hey, I was well rounded. But my mother only sang country and hymns and the old shanties from back in the day and stuff like that. So I had a. If you picked green beans with Granny, you were singing hymns, and if you picked green beans with Mom, you were singing some little song like "Little Brown Jug" or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. So it was, I had a weird life.
You know your country if you sat out there and snapped a bushel of beans with grandma.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite part of the summer because that was where I got to feel like an adult sitting under the shade tree snapping beans. I just hated the shell. I hated the shelly beans. I hated to shell them. They would always give me the shelly beans, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to snap. Um, but I was talking the other day like we had let people borrow plows and stuff, and the tractor was at another farm, and the potatoes had to be turned up and put out and put up. We had a bunch of potatoes, and they all had to be got up and put up because it's fixing to freeze. And all I had was the blind standard bred mare that I had to harness up, and the only plow they left me was a bull tongue plow, which was the wrong plow for the job. And me and that poor blind standard bred mare got all them taters turned up, and I got them all sifted and picked up and put in the tater bins. And I looked at my father and I was like, never again. I was like, never again. And he just kind of laughed at me. He was like, not that easy, huh? And I was like, not with a bull plow. I was like, you leave me the other one if you're going to do that to me again. But I'm thankful for my upbringing now because it gave me made me tougher than a pine knot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to come in handy for the next few years. I really think it is. So, boy, our people are just chatting. Denise is just going strong. I'm telling you, y'all have been so positive and talking amongst yourself and laughing and having such a great time. This has been great. I'm going to have to cut it short because I'm going to have to get off here
Okay.
and
I'm
we're going to
just
have to get the
catching up
dog
on some of
loaded.
the.
But I'm so glad you came up to talk because I'm so glad that we got to talk, and I'm actually going to be getting one of my old parolees to do a stream like this with me, and we're going to talk about the real nitty
That
gritty of parole life and what being a criminal means and the fears that they have and the things that they aren't afraid to do and how far they take it when they're on drugs and in the thick of it. And this
and
gentleman that turned his life around and is doing great now. He's the biggest warrant I ever wrote to the parole board.
that would be interesting, and you could give an insight on how some people, I was discussing with somebody last night about structure, um, and some of the guys that get into the system when they come out, they can't readjust
Yeah,
to civilian life,
they
so
get
they're so used
institutionalized.
to right.
They're,
So that's their structure, so they get out and then they
it's
do
labels
something so they could go right back
because it's the only place
because
that they can thrive because they've become institutionalized. I had so many men say I can make more money on the inside for my family than I can on the outside working a decent job. And I would look at them and go, I just gonna write the warrant now because what you just told me is you don't care to try. And they would be like, no, I don't. And I'd be like, my good grief, how do you start to work with people like that? And it was, it was a combination of cognitive behavioral therapy and starting to dig out their own self-worth. And the young man that has agreed to do the stream with me, um, he was the largest parole warrant ever wrote. It had 17 violations with like 1 to 5 violations under each law that was violated. I got a commendation from the parole board for the prosecution of that warrant because he had attained a lawyer. And a lawyer at a parole hearing is like earrings, they're pretty, but they serve no purpose. And so I got a commendation, and I still shook his hand even after I sent him to prison. The last thing I did was I shook his hand, and I said, I hope if I see you again, it's on better terms. You're doing well, and because I always had good communication, and so when he came out, I didn't, I was working in a different county at that time, and then soon after I retired because he spent quite a while in. And then one day I got a Facebook message, and he was like, "Thank you." He's like, "Thank you." He's like, "I know
Yeah.
I was mad at you for a long time, but he's like, you did exactly what I needed, and because you did exactly what I needed to happen to me, to put me in, to make me think, to make me recalibrate my life, to put my butt somewhere where I had to think about who I was and what I was doing to myself." He said, "Now I'm out. I'm raising my son. I'm working. I'm happy." And he's like, "I'm fulfilled. I'm content." And he's like, "Thank you for doing your job." And I was like, "Not a problem." I was like, "I only put you in jail because I knew the person I saw was worth more than what you were doing. And what you were doing was discrediting yourself. So I put you in the pen so you could think about it."
And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do for somebody.
It is. It is
You
because
know,
you want to try to give them every option and every chance and every therapy option and counseling option. But sometimes you just have to say, "You're not conducive to society. You're not being productive. You're being a threat. And I've got to put you here. And you're going to have to make better decisions." And I've got several success stories, but this guy's one that I really want to brag about because he was one of the most aggravating people to supervise. He would come in and I would just be like, I might as well beat my head against the wall because that's about the communication level we're going to have today. And and we
uh,
still somehow created a work relationship to where he got something out of the contact, and that made me, so when I got the message and he had gotten out and had custody of son and is working and doing well, I just I just am so happy. I'm like, I will champion, and champion their cause and brag about them every day because that is hard work. They did the hard work. They changed their life around, and I'm just amazed and proud.
and that seems like it'd be a good idea for, a show and everything.
Yeah,
It
and
really
he's
does.
open. I don't know if he's going to share his face or not. If he's just going to be like one of these little icons or something. But I said that doesn't matter as long as you're willing to openly talk about it. It'll be fine. It'll be great. So we're going to have a couple phone conversations to kind of iron out what we want to talk about and what he will need to avoid saying on the YouTuber, because we don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Um, but then he's open to doing it. So then it's just finding the time and setting the date to have that happen. And I've got a couple more guys that are interested in coming out and doing this as well. And it's just timing. So that'll be something. Um,
And
it'll be
if
interesting.
you get that out there, you
Good night, Jenny.
like we were saying, this technology could be good used for good or for evil.
Yep, yep.
And if you can just reach one person with what you're doing, just one word to change them and help them,
That's it.
that's it.
That's it. That's the goal. That's what I want to
You
do.
know, and you may never know the work that you do on this earth or anything, but I believe everybody that we meet or don't meet or somebody that we helped, just by talking and being friendly like this, that when we get home,
We'll know one day. Yep.
we'll know they'll be standing there waiting for us to get there and say, "Hey, thank you."
I read an Irma Bombeck book when I was little, and one line she said stuck with me from childhood. It said, "When I stand before God, I want to be able to look at Him and say, I used every skill and talent You gave me to the fullest extent possible."
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
stuck with me. And so everything I do,
And
I'm doing it.
and you may be amazed that the simplest thing may be your talent.
Yeah,
Just because you go to college and get a piece of paper to hang on the plaque, but you're in debt, you know, for getting that piece of paper.
Some of the wisest people have
You're
been the old men that sit around the potbelly stove at the old general store that never left their community, but
mm-hmm,
but they knew life, and they knew how to grow things, and they knew the seasons, and they knew how the world shifted and grew and changed, and they understood humanity because of that. I would sit with those old people and smell their pipes and sit there and stay warm and listen to their stories, and I just felt like I was in like a sacred
the
place listening to those old people talk.
get up in early in the morning to go down to the local cafe to sit there and to have breakfast with the older gentlemen and listen to them talk about the county politics, local stuff,
Yep.
taking care of local
You learn a
stuff.
lot. You'll learn an awful lot, and it won't be just scratch the surface. It will be substance. It will be material that is
That'll
substantial, and
last
you
you.
yeah, and you need to know it.
That'll last you the rest of your life.
We've had such a
You
good
know.
conversation. I think
Yes,
everybody like me is we're about to crash out, but this has just been a great. I was so frustrated when I started, and I knew I just needed to get on here and talk and get into a better place. And I thank you all so much for joining in and helping me pull my head out of my hind end because he was firmly wedged earlier. I was a little upset. Um, I have those days, but I don't know. I think tomorrow, because Kazi, my little dog, comes home tomorrow. Tomorrow may just be focus on Kazi and rest, and I think my husband has got to do a. He's off tomorrow, but he's got to actually do a delivery, for a delivery tomorrow. So I may just rest tomorrow, but I do have content coming. I do have those streams coming. I've got stuff, fixing to happen, and I'm just still resting and feeling better. So we're amping back up. Just bear with me as I get my health back and my energy back.
all
So,
right.
but I'm
And
getting there, and I'll get those pictures up tomorrow. So if you absolutely want to purchase them, I'll put those digital prints up. You can purchase them, and you'll have the rights to them, and then you can do whatever you want, whenever you want with them. They will be you will own the rights to those photos.
okay.
So you can do whatever you want to with them, and that's the cheapest way for you to be able to enjoy those. And so that's what I wanted to find that, because the canvases were great, but between the shipping and stuff, it was just outlandish. So this is going to be much more affordable, and that made me happier. So we'll just do it that way. But I will be loading the shop over the next few weeks. I've got lots of pelts, so just keep checking back, because there's going to be lots of stuff over the next few weeks that I'm going to add, and I'm going to teach my husband how
And
to add them so that he can do it too, because I'm not going to get stuck with that job completely. Not at all.
is he tech savvy,
No,
or
he's
will he,
not. But he's
take the chainsaw to the computer?
he might take the chainsaw to the computer, but I'm going to teach him how to do the postings. He's capable. He just really just
Yeah,
he hates anything that has to do with the internet and stuff. He does like meeting new people, and he does like to talk. He's just very shy unless you get a conversation going with him, and then he'll talk. But he's just very shy. And I tell
that's
everybody he profiles looks like the Darlings off of Andy Griffith. So
when you gonna whoop him with the crossbow again?
Whereas we've not had it back out. My son took it hunting for a couple of days for archery season and brought it back. And we were actually going to shoot when my daughter was home a few weeks ago, and it rained us out. And he will not actively start his rifle season hunting until after Thanksgiving, because he puts more emphasis on his trapping to get his trapping stuff started, because that's his
Mm-hmm.
moneymaker. And so he may not actually get to do any archery hunting with it this year. But I think when my daughter comes home for Thanksgiving, my daughter and her fiance, or soon to be new son-in-law, they're going to come home and spend about a week with us. And so I'm sure we're going to get it out and have a shootout. We're going to see who can get this do the best. And so I'm gonna try to, keep my name at number one, but I may get my daughter. My daughter is just like me. She's a crack shot, so I might get knocked off my pedestal. But I will, if we do that, I will do a video and I will post it because we are very competitive when we get out the weapons. We are a very competitive family. So well, I'll definitely
Well,
share that with everybody.
you've been saying that you needed to get off here.
I know I can talk the whole
We could
night long.
sit here all night probably.
Ain't that the
Um,
truth? But yeah, I'll let you go. But I appreciate you. I appreciate the time you spend. You have been a consistent person, always in the chat. I appreciate that. You give me your time. That is something you can't get back, and I appreciate it so much.
well,
And you
I
add so
appreciate you
much.
because you've given me time and you've taken time out and communicated with me, and you've been real 100%, and hey, real recognizes real.
That's true. That's true. I think that's why we've got such a good foundation of people. So I just
you know
appreciate you so much. This has been such a pleasant end to my day. I needed that. So I'll give everybody a day of rest tomorrow, unless I just post a stupid, silly about Causey coming home. But we'll get back to the regularly scheduled, in-depth discussions next week. And until
and
then, y'all go keep
I,
your eye on the Etsy store and see if there's anything y'all want to buy.
and I'm going to jump off with this: love yourself, love your neighbors, pray for your enemies, and I'll catch you. If I don't catch you in this world, I'll catch you on the flip side.
I think that's the best ending possible. So all I'm going to say is good night, everybody.
All right, good night. Stay blessed.